What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
First podcast of the week.
Yeah.
How was your weekend, Terrence?
It was pretty exciting, man. I disconnected from the digital life for a while. Went cycling, Coney Island, all that stuff. Very nice to not be connected to the digital world.
You weren't the only one that was disconnected.
A lot of people.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
But we will get into that. But yeah, this is a new week.
Yes.
October, end of year coming.
How's your weekend?
Weekend was good. Went to look at some home accessories to revamp the home.
Actually, I think we were both everyone including Tristen as well.
Yeah.
Dealing with the hangover from last week's the conference and all that. I think last week, when we recorded our podcast on Friday, I think you and I were both zombie fight already.
Yeah, zonked.
Yeah. So even probably said some inappropriate things on the podcast, which I'll address later.
Is it?
Yeah, in the DMs and all. We'll talk about it in one Shiok Comment later. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was quite. We were just taking this weekend to recuperate.
Yeah. But shout out to everyone who came to say hey at the event.
Yeah. Some people who are listeners of the podcast came to say hi.
Yeah, and it was always helpful, when we're talking to someone who hasn't heard of us about folklore. And, I say, we actually do this podcast. And someone comes up at that moment to say, hey, I love your podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, fuck. That's just brilliant. Yeah, you guys helped get us some follow-up meetings and all that.
Yeah.
So cheers to that, man.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
But yeah. But before jumping to all the topics that happened over the weekend, because I think it's also related to stuff we were doing all over the weekend and all that, right?
We what is?
You were going shopping for furniture and all
these things. Yeah. Correct.
What was one thing that we always have to say?
That if you are enjoying this podcast, be it in just audio or audio and video form on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, it would be greatly awesome if you guys could just follow us, hit subscribe, leave us a rating, because it helps our show reach more people. It helps ensure that you get our latest episodes each and every time. Just helps the community grow.
And if you want to work with us, the email is contact@ministryoffunny.com. We don't bite. We answer our emails as much as we can. And just ping us for anything, man.
Sweet, man.
Yep.
So cool. Let's jump into it. And this is one of those things that no one is unaware of.
Yeah. Everyone was affected in some way, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, everyone. Everyone.
Even if you're a boomer who, doesn't use digital services, you're probably affected at some point as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is that the DBS online banking and payment services experienced a huge ass outage. And it was not just DBS, it was Citibank also, but DBS was the biggest impact.
Yeah.
And they were down for about a number of hours. I think, let's see. It was
it started at 3?
Yeah, 3 p.m. Then until about 10 p.m. So about 7 hours.
Yeah.
And even then, I think there were still things that were not working, or some ATMs.
Yeah.
But basically, there was a huge outage. And it was all linked back to an issue at the data center provided by this company, Equinox, which apparently is shared by a bunch of other tech companies.
Yeah.
Including Meta, let's see, Meta, Twitter. No, not Twitter. A lot of tech companies, including some telcos. And then now, I think there's no real talk about what's going to happen to DBS.
Yeah.
There's more and more accounts of retailers who suffered, but what was your interaction with this? Or were you disconnected at that point?
No. I was out and about at that point.
Out and about,
I went to this new Floric. No, I wouldn't call it Floric. A nursery. There's an indoor nursery now, somewhere in Singapore in the west.
For plants,
4 or 5 floors of plants, in an indoor space with nursery with aircon and everything. So it's imagine IKEA, but entirely a nursery, but IKEA kind of. So I was trying to. My family was trying to buy something, and the point of sale system wasn't working. So they couldn't take cards. They couldn't take, no matter what, Visa, Master, whatever you had, even from other banks besides DBS, they couldn't deal with it. It was cash only. So it was one of those situations where me and my wife had to cobble together whatever $2 notes, $5 notes we had and folded up and packed into certain corners of our bag, and then just piece it all together to purchase a little pot.
And you got it lah.
We got it. And thankfully, in that sense, I wasn't that badly affected, but it was an inconvenience for sure, getting cash.
Yeah.
It
just so happened that was the day that me and my wife wanted to go like accessory shopping for our home and all that. And like we went to a store, almost bought some stuff.
Yeah.
It declined. And the first thing that occurred to me is like, oh fuck, did I not do something right? Did something go wrong with the card? And then I tried another card because certain other customers were still going through. Because that one, the point of sale system was not something that was issued by DBS.
Yeah.
So they could still accept other cards.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh shit, is it me? Then so in the end we didn't get anything from there. We went to the neighboring shop, also wanted to buy some stuff, couldn't. So in the end we saved some money.
Yeah.
Which is great. But after that dinner,
so those businesses lost your business.
They lost my business, man.
They lost your business.
Yeah, I would have like made them like huge returns. With my 3 candles.
Exactly.
But they lost it.
Yeah.
They lost it. And then after they went for dinner, they had some issues there. Then went for coffee, but had to go away from a place that was all cashless. So they don't even accept cash.
Yep.
A cafe, and then I think their point of they accepted other cards, but none of us had other cards. So they also lost our business.
So free meal. Free meal.
No, before we entered.
Before you entered, I see.
Yeah, we're not going to do that like just, hey, maybe got problem, we go whack, and then after that, sorry, we can't pay you.
Yeah,
no. So then, it was because I was in a few shopping centers, right? Just so happened that Saturday we decided to go to a few shopping centers, and it was on everybody's minds. And weirdly enough, it felt like we were one.
Facing all the problems together.
Yeah. You can't go, we were at the supermarket, you can't do the self-checkout.
Yeah.
So you needed to go queue up, and like everyone was just looking down the queue and just exchanging nods and like, wow, this is damn sure. And it felt like we were all in it together.
Yeah. It's
it brought us closer.
Especially in the midst of this geopolitical uncertainty in other regions.
It reminded us of the hardships we faced in Singapore.
This brought you together. The inability to pay for 3 candles.
Yeah. That was the first instance. It was at the shopping center when I needed to get yogurt because my stomach was a bit upset.
Yeah.
So while standing in the queue with my yogurt, I was like, then just there was solidarity there.
Yeah. I had a close shave because I needed to draw cash to give an ang pao to someone who was leaving the country already. And I think I drew it out around like 2 p.m. And then I came home and gave it ang pao. Then I think at 3 p.m. onwards, the ATM suddenly went off already. So that would have been an issue. So I think the interesting thing here is like we're hearing all these stories, even your own anecdote, my own anecdote, right? I mean, granted, it's not much money. It's not like we are drawing like hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything. You're not spending hundreds of thousands on home and using a credit card to do it, right? $50, $100. So why all these complaints for what? Why are you complaining so much? It's just technology sometimes goes down once in a while.
Yeah, true.
Just deal with it. So why are you complaining so much?
I'm sorry, Terence. Yeah. I'm sorry to DBS. I'm sorry to Piyush.
Yeah, why are you all complaining so much?
That we have no right to complain.
Yeah. So but I think it's really worth discussing. Is it something worth getting upset over? Why there's a lot of people who are outraged online. I was following like the DBS, the apology Facebook and the comments on the post. And one of the top ones was from someone that I know who was like, I cannot even top up my cash card and get out of this car park. I'm stuck here. Yeah. And I'm furious. So I can imagine that happening to more than one person. It sucks, I guess, being blockaded and stuck in a shopping mall, and you can't get out because your car is stuck and you can't pay and all that. And
also your time is racking up, right? You're incurring costs, right?
Yeah, so my that person I know was like, are they going to compensate all the people who had to pay extra parking charges? There were these literal physical issues of moving out a place, or beyond just like wanting to buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's literally about getting your car out of the place so you can move on with your life at the next destination. So it did. I think it caused delays for people in their schedules on a busy weekend.
Yeah.
So, but again, aside from that, fucking first world problems, right? Singaporeans, why are you complaining about this? Why is this such a big deal, you think?
I think because, so it's one of those things that at the top of mind, right? Like, it feels like DBS has been shutting down or going down quite a bit. right?
I think this is more than once this year already. Like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, just if you ask anyone, it feels, hey, this is not a new instance of this bank, this untarnished bank that has gone down. Apparently, it's the fourth service disruption in 2023. And this is off the back of some other major disruptions, I think back in 2021, for which they were slapped with like increased capital requirements in 2022. So it's one of those things that because it has happened often enough, it feels like it's happening very often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've reached like MRT breakdown territory from those days, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those days of MRT breakdown, where you start to lose confidence in the MRT. Like even if it's like delayed by a few minutes, you're like, okay lah, another
I
breakdown.
knew it. Yeah.
Another fucking breakdown. Now when I log into POSB, if it takes a bit longer, right, I'm like, okay lah, this is a sign. So unfortunately, they've gone down into that territory. Like. So that's one aspect. Then the other aspect is like, like especially for the car park thing where by the 15 minutes almost is going up and up, right? In the general climate of like costs increasing everywhere, this really is like unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know? So there is that. And then also the recent comments by like, Piyush Gupta,
the CEO
of DBS, who's very, very well accomplished, has made DBS reach record profits and all.
Yeah.
I think he recently made some comment about how work-life balance is baloney.
Yeah.
Even though it has nothing to do with uptime of your service and all.
Yeah.
It just rubs people the wrong way.
Okay, but he lived, I mean, he walked
his weekend gone.
He walked the talk, right? His weekend and his staff weekend gone.
Weekend turned to baloney.
Apparently, they opened the ATM, they opened the bank branches, literally bank branches, because ATMs weren't working, so you can't even draw cash out.
Yeah.
So they had to pull in all these, bank tellers and all these people to come back to work on Saturday till 7, 8 p.m. I don't know. I read on the internet, I haven't verified it, but I read that there were restrictions of like you can only draw $500 maximum or something like that. Like they didn't want people to be pulling out their life savings from bank accounts. So yeah, he's walking the talk. Don't believe in work-life balance. So that's why he eat your Saturday.
Hey boss, I cannot work Saturday. He's like, I told you, this is baloney. Your work-life balance baloney. This one I said it very, very clear.
Yeah. And the other ironic thing is like I think DBS has been pushing this slogan, live more, bank less, for the last couple of years. And a lot of people are banking a lot less over the weekend, but not by choice, not by choice.
And you're living more,
You're living a lot more.
You're living more.
Life,
Yeah, you're living more. You're bonding with people. It's one big like community event, community initiative.
But I mean, it seemed like people were genuinely very angry about it and asking how can this be possible. But in the larger scheme of things, it's just one day of outages.
And it's 7 hours, not even one day.
7 hours. Some say maybe a bit more because, but why do you think the anger is justified, if you think so, or if you think it's just people just whining too much and we should just move to cashless society ASAP?
I think because so for me the whole thing about whole cashless society, I think it's generally a good direction, but also when there's shaming of hawkers who want to still accept cash and don't go full cashless by people like Calvin Cheng. Now he's coming up and saying stuff like well, if a printer jams or something, or if the internet is down, doesn't mean we go back to snail mail. No, I've never been an advocate of full one or the other solution. It's just the direction, which I mean, come on, you were shaming hawkers before. So that's one thing. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the sentiment towards banks, it really feels like everything they decide, we have to kind of kowtow. But when they screw up, how are they held accountable? You can impose fines. And then there's the increased capital requirement, which from my layman understanding, it just means that how much money must be liquid at any point in time, which you cannot have in investments and elsewhere. But it just feels like that, there's all this talk of record profits. I think Piyush Gupta was the highest paid CEO in Singapore. So it just feels in the context of that, then this goes down. And I think for the retailers, right, who suffer, I think that's the biggest thing that is very justifiably anger-inducing. I couldn't go to certain eateries, right? I couldn't get 3 candles. But for the business, what kind of recourse do they have?
Yeah. And don't forget, it's I think the places you and I were talking about are, big companies of infrastructure all. But then imagine on Saturday, if you're a small retailer and you're at some flea market or fair or public garden, one of those things. And then you only use cashless payment, whether it's PayNow or your card or anything, and you can't do any of that. That's like the one day that you paid, I don't know, 2-3 grand, 4, 5, 6 grand for a table at this flea market, but you lose all these customers because they can't use. How many customers are carrying cash on them, right?
Yeah.
They can't use PayNow, can't use anything, so they just walk away and say, "Oh, maybe next time lah."
Yeah.
Right. So that is like maybe a home, like basically your one day that you're planning for this big market is basically in the red already lah. Confirm in the red already lah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's really, what can you do?
Yeah.
You know?
What can you do?
What can you do? Even the staff at all those outlets, like even pharmacies and all, to their credit, everyone I interacted with, they were super solid lah.
Yeah.
They were apologizing, and I kept telling them, I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with this kind of stuff.
Oh, you went to apologize to them?
As in, I mean, not say I apologize. I said, because they were saying, hey, I'm not saying like, don't worry, I bless you. Yeah,
another Hassan Minaj moment right there.
Why is it Hassan Minaj?
Huh? Embellishing the story of like, oh, I came to you, you don't have to say sorry. Do you do that? What do you do? As in what?
No, I didn't say don't have to say sorry. Okay. No, I just said, they said, oh, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I said, no, I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you said sorry.
Yeah, but how is it Hassan Minaj? Hassan Minaj didn't do that, right?
No, as in embellishing a story. Like
what did I embellish?
Like, I had this impression of you like going, hey, please don't say sorry.
Okay, then
guys.
You are embellishing it. You are Hassan Minajing it in your own head.
Well, I'm telling you what I'm hearing and
I'm saying the facts. I'm saying the facts. I did not embellish anything. It happened. It happened.
Anthrax appeared in the envelope.
Yeah. No. I was just telling them, I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with this kind of stuff. It's really none of your fault. It's not your company's fault. You can't fault them. But they were all super, super nice.
Yeah. And I think like, what you said about the sentiment is true. And the truth is the physical banking services have been cut back on in recent years, right? It's harder and harder to find like a full service like bank around where I live, and I don't know about you as well, but for me it's definitely fewer. And there's this narrative that cashless is the future, so we got to go that way. So my thing is, I don't mind cashless. I like the convenience of it a lot. I like that we're able to do these things. My issue is that they're pulling back on the physical services too fast, such that cashless isn't as robust as we need it to be to fully invest our trust in it. And they're already pulling back on these services that, on a day like Saturday, it's like everything just falls apart, So I think the analogy of like the internet down, printer jammed, then it's not like we go back to Stone Ages or what. No, but the point is they don't get rid of snail mail just because there's the internet, right? There's still at least the option there, and it still runs, and it's still there, right? But in this case, it's very clear that it was not able to make up for the fact when the cashless whole thing, the digital payments all went down, right? Yeah. The fact that the banks are typically not open late on Saturdays, that you can only draw up this much money. I think it's all a big issue. So I think that's the bigger problem. And that's why arguments like what you're saying about, it's like printer jam or internet down, those are very, make people think like it's very 1 and 0, very binary arguments, which is not. I think there can be a build-up of the cashless digital services, but they need to acknowledge that, the banking system relies on trust. Our entire financial system relies on trust, people trusting that the system works, such that there won't be things like bank runs and all that happening, like people preferring to keep cash at home rather than put it in a bank. In this situation, it literally made me think like, oh, maybe I do need to keep some cash at home in case this kind of thing happens, because you can't rely on digital services. The moment one data center is down, you can't make any payments already, whether even for stuff at home, like paying for a helper or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's just the whole thing. I feel pitting cash against cashless, I think is a stupid argument. I think both of them have to work hand in hand, and they shouldn't be pulling back on one, and then expecting everyone to just adopt the other without any resistance.
But then at the same time, like, if it's really one of those things, because last time also when I was in the corporate world, like overseeing like e-commerce and all, the website, your agreements with like all the vendors and all, there's like a 99.7% guarantee of uptime.
Sure.
So there's a 0.3%. Okay, during the year, at any point there'll be 0.3% of the time will be down.
Yeah.
And it's part of the agreement, like, because there's no technology that is completely fail-safe.
Sure.
So then, like, is it that, like, because these banks are really the cornerstone of the system, because there's a lot that when they impose changes and policies as customers, we kind of need to take it, lah. Should we not also afford them some allowance, like as a consumer, lah, as a consumer?
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
I would say banking services are a much more essential part of our lives than, whether it's retail or other services that are being offered, right? Like, literally, you can't transact, you can't pay people, you can't even pay, like if you're working or something on a weekend, you can't even pay your staff if it was meant to be like freelancer or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why these industries are so heavily regulated, and probably come with more regulations than the industry that you were in, right? And being overseen by government, being overseen by institutions that are paid for by taxpayers' money and all these things, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not apples to apples comparison either, lor. Like some downtime can be expected for some technology, but if it's really crucial technology that the whole country, it's almost like a public utility already, right, that everyone relies on to transact, right? Then I think there needs to be, it can't hold it to the same standards as other kind of other kinds of industries, lah.
But then I don't know whether there's an actual solution, because ultimately the data centers are provided for by a third party also, Equinox, right? So they probably have their own agreement with DBS.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know DBS was posting that, okay, they're going to be swinging to backup servers at 7 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, it probably really is a monumental fuck up somewhere, lah.
Yeah.
And we'll never know the full details. But I think it is maybe just the current climate of things, lah, where banks, especially when there's so much glamorization of the profits they're making, how much the CEO is getting,
how much he doesn't believe in work-life balance.
Yeah,
and all that.
It just sets up a sentiment that as a consumer you're like, I mean, DBS has always had a very, I wouldn't say humble rep, but like, this is a homegrown, like this thing. But then now when they over glamorize how well it's doing, it just affects like public sentiment, lah.
Yeah.
So when fuck ups like this happen, it just makes you see, okay, like you're not doing enough. I think recently also there was a whole case of people who were scammed, and then I can't remember, was it UOB or OCBC, who said they are not at liberty to compensate, but then
OCBC.
OCBC, but then I think MAS mandated that you kind of need to take the blame for this or something, lah. So then it feels like, okay, the public sentiment towards banks is getting a bit more negative, lah. So when this kind of thing happens, people are just ready to shit on it, lah. It's like MRT last time, lah. Now if there's an MRT breakdown, right, I think people will be like, oh, okay, it doesn't happen that often, lah. Right, but there was at one point in time.
Yeah, it was happening every other
time. Sometimes a small delay also, people are like, okay, lah, of course, you have to start budgeting MRT breakdowns into your daily planning,
Yeah. But because, to be fair, like of all the banking apps and all that, I found that the DBS one, when it works, right?
Yeah.
It's
pretty good, right?
One of the better ones already, compared to the others. More reliable and everything. So it's the whole, I mean, I really don't know any of the technical stuff about swinging to another server, but a lot of stuff I'm reading online, people are like, they can't believe it. This kind of thing should be, even swing the backup or what, it should be immediate, or at least like a short downtime, not 7, 8, 9 hours kind of thing, So wow, I heard it was something to do with like the air conditioner in the data
overheated
center
or something. Yeah.
So it's literally that kind of like problem, right? Overheating.
Climate change.
Yeah, climate. And Singapore very hot these days and
Singapore
everything.
Fucking hot. Yeah.
So it just sounds to me like I'm sure it can be solved with money, basically.
So I don't know. I think sometimes, like, when you think, technology should solve everything. I think every system there will always be some screw ups.
Correct, yeah.
Right. So I think just like saying all the way that, okay, this should never happen, like money can solve it. I think to a certain extent, yes. But I think to a certain extent also, it's like, no, things will fuck up.
Correct.
Right.
But money, I feel like, especially when it comes to a bank, using money to solve something should be.
But can everything be solved or not, Terrence?
I think, as in having backups and backups of that backup, I think that's healthy solution. Right?
So backups to the backups means that something still must be directed somewhere. Anytime there'll be points of failure. There'll be points of failure.
Downtime, yes, but downtime for like 7, 8, 9 hours.
I don't know.
It's like a full work day already, I mean, is it because it's a Saturday, that's why it's harder? Then maybe they need to have a team that's on standby on weekends, right? And pay for their salaries and
that's
all
like
these
saying, hey, Terrence, do podcast very easy, right? Just sit down, in front of mic, you talk. Right?
Correct, yeah.
Why you need to charge that much for people? Very easy, right?
If I had DBS coffers, if I had the money, then I would like pay for someone else to do during the downtime,
No, my point was that it might look easy on the surface. And I'm not defending DBS. I'm just saying, like, with all technical stuff, there will always be stuff that you don't know. So for all the people who are working their asses off in the data centers, maybe there really is like it's like an airplane also, you can do all you can, but there will be fuck ups. And how to guard against that. So maybe it's something that DBS also it's something gradually built up the sentiment towards them. That has just made this whole feeling worse. Because if it was I don't know, now every bank there's a bit of like you hear only you're like, okay, what are you doing now? Because I guess maybe as a consumer you feel so beholden to this bank, like you don't know, they want to raise interest rates. Okay, fuck it, what can we do? Right, like last year, was it December? There was a massive interest rate increase, right? You even from one bank, you want to go and refinance your loan for another bank, you just have to take what they give you. So maybe it's that sort of sentiment that builds up. You just feel like, oh, saktama, just take it.
And I think that's right. And going forward, like what you're talking about, what can be done from here, right? I think the public perception is that fines don't seem to be working, right? The slaps on the wrist don't seem to be working. CEOs still getting, bumper bonuses, record highest paid banking CEO in Singapore. None of these things seem to be changing the issue, making the issue any better, right? I think it's up to MAS to really show how any of their punishments or whatever that I'm sure there'll be punishments, but how will this actually make anything better, right? And I think they need to convince the public about that, that
DBS,
MAS in meeting out a fine or punishment or whatever, need to convince that this will have a real effect on making DBS, holding DBS more accountable for these issues.
Because I think, like, off the back of the previous outages, where even the chairman of DBS said there will be committees set up to investigate what went wrong, I think they haven't been fully resolved yet.
Still investigating, then got a new thing to investigate already.
Still investigating. I think one thing also that I was talking about with my wife as we were walking around is like, let's say you were in charge of a retail outlet, like you were at a reception and all this went down. What would you do, Terrence? What sort of like who's the Tom Cruise character in Mission Impossible?
Ethan Hunt, right?
Oh, Ethan Hunt. What would Ethan Hunt or Jason Bourne do?
I mean, essentially, you would have to go back to what the trust system that existed before banking and all, people paying on credit or whatnot, or you just say,
IOU that you write out.
IOU write out, or you say, okay, you ate this much, right? You paid, you owe us $100. Next week you come and pay us, that kind of thing. What else can you do? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to trap people there?
That one you cannot do. But let's say I was at a pharmacy, right? I wanted to get like this, I don't know, like some strepsils or something. So it's not say I have already incurred, like I've eaten the meal.
Then you just shut down for a day, If you can't get the customers.
Have a more creative solution, Terrence. They're just throwing in the flag already.
No, but I mean, what would you expect? What can a salaried employee who's working the counter do? What can they do? There's nothing they can do, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to discuss. No creative.
So I was just suggested one day you said that it's different.
To close down?
No, as in either you shut for a day because you can't handle this volume or whatever, or you just work on a trust system. Okay, I give this to you first. If you want, you
so that means
back.
The strepsils, you say, okay, I give this to you.
Yeah, you just write down your name and number, and then tomorrow you come back and pay me. Then we go back to the good old days of like actually having to stick to your word about things.
Like you take a photo, then you ask them to hold up the product. And the
I will come back to pay this.
Pay now lah.
Okay, I'll pay now.
You don't need to come back.
Yeah. So that would, I mean, in some sense you could say trying to make the best out of a shitty situation for everyone involved, right?
Yeah.
And you show that you are trying to find a solution for your customer. Your customer is the most important. You're taking care of them first.
Yeah, exactly.
And profit second. You won't make, maybe it's a few people will walk away and not pay that thing, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. But you trust that most of them will pay for something. And then you win their trust back that way. You earn their trust that way. Earn their respect and the trust.
The trust.
Maybe that's a plus for you as for PR-wise, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think every business needs to also understand that shit will go wrong.
Yeah.
If all your point of sale systems are issued by DBS, I know there are some other, like just at the event last week, there was this new apps that even on your Android phone, if you download certain things, you link it to your bank account, it can become a point of service terminal.
Yep.
So you get a bunch issued by DBS, sure, but get some contingencies. You know, like everyone also should have like maybe like this glass case in your pocket with like $10 note or $50 note.
Break in case of
emergency. Break in case of emergency.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so I think it's just for every business especially to understand that shit can happen. Can you imagine if this was F1 weekend?
Wow.
Walao.
Maybe because it's not F1 weekend, so cut back or something already. Stand down, done for the year.
Conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy. Completely conjecture.
Conjecture.
But that's what I'm saying is that, these kind of things is, you don't know. I mean, you don't know how much they're investing in all the alternative measures in case shit happens, right?
Yeah.
And what the arrangements are. Maybe that would help if MAS was a bit more transparent about what the exact steps are. Since we know it's a data center problem now, then they can be very transparent about what steps they're going to take to mitigate this data center failure issue.
And even for Equinox to come out and say, because just looking, WhatsApp was affected, DBS, Singtel, POSB, Facebook, Instagram, Citibank, StarHub, Visa, M1, Facebook Messenger, MyRepublic, all had outages. Yeah. So, I mean, Equinox also is not in the news much, it's DBS.
Yeah.
So I bet DBS also is like, yo, guys, Equinox.
Yeah.
What the hell went on, man?
But to me, it's the more important is MAS and DBS
Equinix,
step up. At the end of the day, the data center, it's a private business and its customer is DBS, its customer is MAS. The onus should be on DBS and MAS to face the public and tell us what's happening.
So you think like there should be some on TV, just take a bow
for 20 seconds.
For 20 seconds.
I think there should be a press conference. Piyush Gupta, any CEO of his sort should use this as an opportunity to try and rebuild trust. Because really trust is underlies everything in the financial system. Without trust, that's how Silicon Valley Bank happens. That's how all these bank runs happen, And then anyone who says that this kind of thing won't happen, in Singapore, I think you just really have to see that's what people thought about the financial system in the US and all those years or so.
And I'm seeing some people on Reddit also say that go check all the transactions you did, on Saturday, like a big ticket, maybe you're paying someone a big amount or something. Because one guy just mentioned that previously, during a previous outage, his merchant paid him, showed him a screenshot, but because of the outage, it didn't go through. Yeah. So then it feels like, oh shit. So I guess putting full trust, as much as banking and all these kind of systems are about trust, putting full trust in is also not really the best thing. Not really the best thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've no idea what will be happening after this to MAS, to DBS.
Yeah.
I think there will be. Yeah, I think it's also we need to keep in mind, because I forgot there have been 4 outages already. I mean, 3 outages up to this point, and they're open investigations that haven't closed yet.
They haven't been closed. Haven't really told people what's the next steps. And
so
all
I'm
that.
guessing this will also come up in Parliament.
Yeah. A month down the road or something.
A month down the road.
Yeah.
So man.
But just like that This.
Just like that.
Sometimes we might not even be remembering what this topic was a week from now.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
just gone in the flash like that. Sometimes these things just, we are outraged about it for a while, then after we forget, and it's gone in a flash. But there's certain things that once they're gone in a flash, they're gone forever also. You won't even hear of it anymore. And that's also something that we're talking about, which is
the announcement over the weekend that Flash Coffee, a chain of coffee coffee stalls or coffee kiosks that's known to have an app and a very bright yellow coloring. They announced on Friday
Yeah.
that they announced last Thursday that they are shuttering all 11 of its outlets in Singapore after having filed for liquidation. And since then, there have been claims by ex-workers saying that they are owed salaries, CPF contributions, and encashment for unused leave.
For part of September and
Up to
whatever,
October 12th,
up to October 12th, right?
Yeah. And I mean, they're getting help from the Food, Drinks and Allied Workers Union, FDAW, WU, and this whole thing has been unfolding. And I think on Thursday was the first time things started popping up on social media. There was a TikTok video that showed Flash Coffee's outlet at Jurong Point being shuttered.
Yeah.
And there was talk of like the baristas going on strike.
There's
or
a
something.
sign from someone writing that the baristas had gone on strike.
On strike, which has since been refuted. Debunked. It's just that Flash Coffee decided to shutter. And it's not the Flash Coffee company. Apparently they have 200 outlets globally. They are deciding to cease operations here to, in their words, and I quote, further consolidate our future efforts and to double down on our most promising markets. One of which is Indonesia. And I think they owe like 14 million to
creditors.
To creditors.
That means not all employees, but maybe vendors or whatever that they bought coffee from or whatever.
Yeah. So, Terence, reading this, seeing news, what came to mind, Terence?
I mean, the word liquidation, as everyone knows, has like very special meaning to us. We've documented our run-ins with a very big liquidation and how we got screwed over before, right? So my heart goes out to all the people affected, not just employees, who are owed, probably sounds like about at least half a month to a month of salary and everything. The fact that they all lost their jobs, the fact that it doesn't seem like communications has been very clear with them, right? That they felt so frustrated they had to put up a sign claiming that they're on strike to make a statement. Then probably a lot of Singapore vendors that are also affected by this sudden closure and all. And I feel very bad for all of them. Shitty situation. And I think I was hoping that we could get one of these people, Flash Coffee, who was working for Flash Coffee, to maybe come on a podcast and talk about the experience. Because I think that's the worst part of all these liquidations, is that you hear all these official statements and these buzzwords about like consolidating to, focus on the markets and the business not viable, all that. But actually, what I think is really interesting that a lot of people don't hear is about how those decisions from management were or were not communicated to staff, to partners, to vendors and things like that. And really gives you an insight into how the management and the leaders of this company work and how they think about, whenever shit hits the fan, crisis. Because I think this guy, Flash Coffee, has raised a lot of money in recent years. And the CEO and co-founder and everything has talked about himself very much as a visionary entrepreneur backed by Rocket Internet and everything. I have a very interesting quote from a Rob Report interview of him that was done not too long ago. It was a Rob Report. Flash Coffee is at the heart of a coffee revolution that's taking Asia by storm. And I just like to read the quote. He says, I see myself as an enabler, not a CEO. I care about getting my team and the people around me at Flash Coffee to where they want to be in life. If they want to build their own company in the future, I'll give them the tools to do that. In business, there are always ups and downs. As long as we share the same vision, I'll do whatever it takes to support them. It's not about me getting there. It's about me making sure that they get there. I'm fighting for them, not the other way around. Literally the last paragraph of this.
When was that quote?
This interview was from 30th August 2022, just about a year ago. So he's fighting for them, but apparently not anymore. Maybe from Indonesia, he's fighting work from home, remote.
Because you said the article came out when, sorry?
30th August 2022.
30th August. Because this May, 11 May 2023, like what you said, Flash Coffee raised a round of 50 million US to expand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a sad case with 11 outlets, and I'm sure everybody has seen these outlets. Right? Yeah. They're bright yellow. I mean, I've never been the biggest fan of Flash.
Yep.
I think they do something interesting, but I feel it got no soul.
Is it really interesting?
I mean, in the sense that it's very app focused. And you know me and my apps lah.
But when I went there to buy coffee before,
Yeah.
there was no interaction with any app.
But you can like download on the app and then you order and you pick up and all that kind of shit lah.
When I went there, I just like, there was a barista, I ordered my coffee.
Because you never
they brought
use
it
the
to
app
me.
lah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, that's why I'm like, what's there to be impressed about? That's what I'm asking.
No, because on the app, let's say you're going somewhere, you can just order from that outlet. You order and you pick it up and they give you what time. I mean, it's like basically like Grab, the self pickup. But this one, they had it when they first launched lah. I know that smile of yours. You're like, oh, yeah, this is fucking nonsense. This is pointless. But I'm just saying that they had an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
I just don't like their branding. And
why you don't like the branding?
It's like soulless, like soulless. And maybe it's because like after going through this liquidation, after kind of with folklore and other things that we have done, understanding a bit more about the whole fundraising space and all. It's just like when you hear, I think it's been over glamorized companies that announce they've raised 50 million, and I used to feel like wow, that company must be doing really well. But when you look at it, oftentimes these companies are not profitable. And then I always used to wonder, how does this fundraising thing work? What does Series A mean, Series B mean? But basically, it is any company that goes down the path of raising external capital. The moment you take other people's money, investors' money, or at least like VC money, the whole goal is for hypergrowth. The whole goal is to reach a point where you're either acquired or you go for an IPO. Which means that it is all about like super growth. Of course, you get some VCs, some investors that want slow growth, profitability from day one. But when you see this, and they said this money will be used to get the company to profitability by the end of 2024, which means it's not profitable.
Yeah.
And then they raise that much money, they expand like crazy. I don't know, you could almost feel like, how is this going to last?
Yeah.
And then when this thing happens, it really feels like, of course this would happen. Of course, a company that is just going for hyper growth, they would just spray and then look at the least profitable outlets and just cut it all off in the name of like growing this business. But you forget all the people, right? And that's why it's damn bloody annoying seeing that they just shuttered like that.
Yeah. It's basically growth at all costs.
Growth at all costs, yeah, exactly.
And the cost is people not having job certainty, people not being paid. Not literally, not that the opportunity cost of being paid. They're literally, they worked and they didn't get paid, right?
Yeah.
For that month.
Yeah.
CPF and all that, So I do hope that because I think like in our case, as far as I know, like with Hook and everything, right? As far as I know, the staff did get paid for whatever the hours they worked and all that, right? So in terms of a case for CPF to go after them and all that, there wasn't much there, as far as I know, lah.
Yeah.
But for this case, it's quite blatant that staff salaries, CPF still not paid, right? So I think it's really bad, lah. It's really egregious. It's really like not cool. It's really growth at all costs. It means growth at the expense of your employees. You are literally borrowing their time and effort and money to build your own business. Then the moment the business doesn't make sense for you, you just decide I'm not going to pay them, lah.
Yeah.
So that to me is really gross, lah. Right? Yeah. So in this day and age, when you think about how we spend our money and we want the business to source raw materials ethically and stuff like that, these people, this totally, the business ethics of this is totally, they don't care, lah.
But then when you're running a business, even for us, when there are certain things that are really not profitable, if we need to stop, we stop. Right?
Yeah.
So what is it about the way they did it this round that irked you?
That it just completely just shut down everything. Even the staff had no clue. Staff didn't seem like they had any chance to make prior arrangements or, like work towards. As far as I know, they only were told about this on the meeting just a few days prior to shutting down, right? So it's not like you give them a month's notice that, hey, this is going to happen. Please start looking for alternative plans. If you need to pay for your medical bills, please start looking elsewhere for jobs or even driving, like, being a private hire driver or something like that for a while to get by. They did lah. They just left everyone in the lurch, their own employees, the team that supposedly, it was about me making sure they get that I'm fighting for them, not the other way around.
He's like, oh no, in this case, it's the other way around.
Yeah, I'm going to leave them to just fend for themselves because, I'm not making money. I'll focus on the things that make money. So it's just like kind of gross, lah, the whole behavior. I feel like if you tell me a business is not doing well or is suffering or something like that, and you have to close outlets, you have to consolidate. There have to be some redundancies. You try your best to keep at least one place up. You look at all 11 of them and see which one could potentially help you make some money back and all that, right? And then you slowly rebuild your footprint after you've consolidated a little bit, right? Then okay, I mean, then at least we know that it's not growth at all costs. You're also going for sustainability, profitability, and things like that. And you care about doing it properly. But here it's very clear they don't care about doing it properly. They just pulled themselves from the system and just handed over the keys to the liquidators. They didn't even bother about, whether the outlets, whether how communication was to customers. They don't care about customers. They don't care about the staff. Any of them. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, we can say this with some certainty because even for Hook, I can imagine some people saying, oh, but no, they wouldn't have informed people just on the day itself. For Hook, literally, we found out through a press release and the staff at Hook found out at 11:30 a.m. on the day itself.
Yeah.
So this kind of shit does happen.
Yeah.
And more often than not, in the same article talking about liquidation, you get quotes from the Flash people saying, oh, we are profitable in our other markets and, we're doubling down on Indonesia. I'm like, hello, how does this make sense? In one hand, you are shutting down in Singapore, and if you really are not going to pay employees, that's messed up.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like it's justified because, we are focusing on other markets.
Yeah.
Then it's like, yo, man, and who knows what penalties would be incurred by them, right? Probably nothing.
But what's that incur? There's nothing left really. What? That's the problem with Hook, right? That we had. Was that, so what, even if you want to sue, what are you going to sue? You're going to sue a bankrupt company? The bankrupt company doesn't even have money to pay for lawyers or anything.
And then all the C-level suites, we know, for in our instance, all within months, they just
filled upwards.
Got another C-level job somewhere else.
I mean, these people basically have retreated already from Singapore market and sort of just blaming the market for whatever happened. No? And see, I think you can blame the market for the business not doing well. But you can't blame the market for your unethical practice of not paying your staff and then just filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's unethical, right? Really unethical.
I mean, they said most of the people from the head office, they are offering, positions in other countries and helping them find next steps. But it's the baristas, the contract staff.
Yeah.
The more customer facing, the people not in the head office who get screwed over.
They're not going to move to another country to work in the flash coffee there, right?
Yeah.
So not after you got screwed like that, right?
And I mean, again, it's similar to the first case, right? I remember in May, the number of articles that was talking about, flash coffee raised shit ton of money. Then you look at it, you're like, the higher you go, the harder the harder you fall, right? If you're so glamorized, that's 68 million Singapore dollars now.
Yeah,
which is huge. And then when they do this, it's almost like okay, it's a small thing. But there's all the glamour that they get.
People are talking about Luckin coffee, right? From China. Also very tech focused. I think you have to download an app literally to order.
Correct. Yeah, you cannot pay anything.
Have you been? I've never been before.
I've never been, but I've seen queues and Kenangan coffee also from Indonesia.
So, is there a business case for these tech focused FMB outlets? Or is it all just like hot air?
I think it's one of those cases because I do try to stay up to date with what's happening in the tech space and all. The whole thing feels like when there was ride hailing.
Yes.
There was this wave, right? There was this potential of an idea, but it became like the first mover advantage. It's when you come to a new market in Singapore where there was none. It was almost a three-way fight and Flash probably knew that Kenangan and Luckin were going to come to Singapore. So let's spray and get our foot in first before these people come in. I don't know how profitable Luckin and Kenangan are, but I think it's one of those cases that ride-hailing, I've heard now Uber is profitable, Grab, I don't know if their ride-hailing is profitable, but there probably is a business model, but because it's so competitive right now, it's a race to the bottom. So at some point, there probably will be a winner that emerges. But until then, remember the days of when Grab, Deliveroo, Foodpanda, they were just offering vouchers left, right, center. It was great for the consumer.
Yeah.
But in the end, it just feels like like to win you really have to grow at all costs lah. And it's who
Just
can survive the longest lah.
Yeah, market share and all.
Yeah.
But the thing about this coffee and FMB and all that is that there are cheaper and easier options already, right? Whereas ride hailing was really like it created an industry out of
correct.
in response to a government controlled industry, right?
Yeah.
So it did, I would say, that
It opened up
it opened up a new pie and a new market and a new segment. But this one is like, is Flash coffee any better than the kopi that you get at the kopitiam and all that?
It's not that good, and there's no story. Like kopi, you can see the person, fucking pulling the tea, know.
Yeah. So, but that's my thing. I think, and a lot of people were saying also that, they tasted coffee and it was shitty.
Yeah.
So they knew from the start that this was bullshit, this whole thing is all buzzwords and all that. So, but I'm just trying to understand whether you think that there's something that the technology brought to the coffee experience that, makes it a step above going to Yakun or any of these places.
I actually think like that interaction where you can book ahead of time and pick up, especially for the CBD lah. I think that's where it makes the most sense. I do feel there's a bit of value. It's not maybe to the extent of incremental value that ride hailing brings.
Yeah.
But for across coffee, I actually think for people who just want to, not worry about queuing up and have like some sort of consistency, I think there is value lah. Yeah. Because I mean, for Starbucks, you go there, Starbucks feels like it's more about the experience of being there lah.
Yeah.
And now there's such strong brand power that you have merch, you have the coffee and
lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Whereas Flash is just so, it's like the name like.
Flash in the pan. Yeah.
It's really just a flash in the pan.
Yeah. No, the Starbucks experience is, I think I read that the book by the Starbucks chairman.
Howard Schultz, right?
Yeah. And about how it was really about telling the story and embedding themselves in the community and things like that. So there a lot of thought and effort went into that. Whereas 11 outlets, across Singapore in a short span of time. And there really no personality. You can't tell one outlet from another, or you can't this is nice to sit here for a while. None of them were really that. They didn't offer that kind of thing, the experience of sitting down and enjoying the space.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It's just you just pop by and fuck off.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why I really do hope we somehow, if anyone listening to this knows someone who was affected by this liquidation, please, whether it's a vendor or a barista or somebody who is willing to share the story, because I can tell you from personal experience that if you don't talk about the story now, it will just become a footnote in someone else's story, and the injustices done to you will become just part of like corporate history.
Yeah. And I mean, and if you are affected, even like a vendor, if you feel you have no voice, right, which is what we felt previously, just let us know.
Yeah.
We will give you a voice.
Yeah. And again, I think like what people are saying to us, if you are afraid of some repercussions or something, if they have the money to sue you, they should have the money to pay you also, right? Yeah. So I think if you work on that, there's really nobody left to sue or to come and find you, or really that the PR will look really bad if someone tries to do that.
Yeah.
But what's there to lose by talking?
What's there to lose?
Yeah. Sharing your experience as someone who, with two other people who have lived through this experience and are still living through the experience.
Still paying off some stuff.
Yeah. So, but tough one.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of tough conversations, shall we talk about your one Shiok comment?
Yes. My one Shiok comment. So I would just give a shout out to someone who posted on our episode 447 on Reddit. It is a long-time commenter, accidental jurist, with a detailed response about the whole Israel-Palestine issue and just giving a lot of context to the extent of Netanyahu's public approval before this, stuff that the UN Security Council has said, and just very thought out, and just giving a perspective that can be sometimes quite difficult to put across, and also at the same time condemning the way the Hamas terrorists have been conducting their attacks. I think right now, even as I try and understand it, even as I try and talk to you about certain things,
yeah.
you're immediately like, oh, it's hard to not to almost acknowledge both like multiple things at one time, lah. You know, and I think like anyone who dares to share their opinion on it, I give you a shout out, lah.
Yeah, and you better come with receipts, because Harish is going to ask you, where's the video come from? Are you sure it's from them? Are you sure it's not doctored? Are you sure it's not AI?
Yeah.
So the discussion will end there if you don't come with the receipts.
Both sides, yeah.
So bring your receipts.
Yeah.
Harish says, let's talk about it. But where's your video coming from?
Where's your video coming
Send me
from?
the
Have
link.
your sources and all. And I mean, they did point out that, hopefully they will discuss it more in future. I mean, we are thinking about how to dissect it, even if it means getting someone in Singapore who is from Israel, someone from Palestine based in Singapore to come on and talk. Just to see, because we know it's very touchy. So thank you, Accidental Jurist, for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah.
And what about you, Terence?
Marshall comments a DM we got in response to the 447 episode where we talked about a Pew Center survey on attitudes towards religion in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
So this person, I guess it's a DM, so I won't name the person. They say, hey, been an avid listener to your podcast. Heard the latest episode 447. Terence mentioned that Christianity doesn't necessarily include Catholicism. So I'm a Catholic, no offense taken, but I would like to understand and hear Terence's point of view. Any recommendations where I can read more about Catholicism not being part of Christianity, please?
Wow, that's a very subtle. Hey, Terence,
yeah.
What the fuck you talking about, Terence?
So
where's your receipt, Terence?
Exactly. To avoid any violence breaking out between religious groups and all that. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes in surveys, people ask about Christian and Catholics as separate categories. So when I was saying, when they say Christianity, does it necessarily include Catholicism? I'm not very sure, right? I haven't read the survey in detail. All I was just making the point was that maybe the Catholicism was separated as an answer in that question from Christians. That means Protestants and all that, right? So don't.
And I mean, your context, you were also not atheist or agnostic from birth, right? You were part of.
I mean, I dabbled.
So basically, you're not talking with no context at all.
Yeah, and I know there are differences between them. So I didn't want to merely just lump Catholicism under Christianity and all that, right?
Yeah.
Just clarifying that I'm not saying that Catholics are not Christians. That again, just put it on record. I'm not saying that Catholics are not Christians. I'm saying that categorization sometimes for surveys, they put Catholics separate from Protestant Christians.
Yeah.
Important, right?
That person is also not saying. They're just asking where can they read the stuff that you have read to give you that opinion.
There is nothing to read. But like you say, it's one level of what did you say? It was
what did I say?
Passive aggressiveness or something.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice,
there's a smiley face. Yeah. Smiley face at the end.
Wow, that was power.
And that's how Harish communicates. Also, the smiley face, passive aggressiveness.
No. Sometimes
but either way, hopefully that didn't cause any ruffled feathers amongst people.
Yes.
And so, what is your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is this podcast that I started watching more and more short excerpts from. It's hosted by two people that I've already been fans of. It's called the Bad Friends podcast, and it's co-hosted by Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. So Bobby Lee, longtime comic who's from Mad TV fame, and just a super funny guy. And Andrew Santino, I first saw him when he was one of the actors on Dave, which has been a show that has been my one Shiok thing before. But it's just funny because it's hilarious, and I mean, they also have arguments and it's funny. So it's not one of those that you will learn about what does artificial intelligence mean and shit like that. But it's just one of those, especially the clips. The clips are quite funny. And they're quite big. They have 1.04 million subscribers. They're both quite famous regardless. And I mean, my one Shiok thing, I guess, is this one clip especially that's hilarious between the two of them just having a funny argument on the podcast. Yeah.
Cool. So is that mainly on YouTube? Or Spotify?
I mean, they have a big YouTube channel, but they're also on Spotify.
Got it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you, man?
Mine, because since Halloween's coming up and all, when that time of the year where we watch a lot of horror stuff, right? So I just been watching Mike Flanagan's new series, how the Fall of the House of Usher.
Mm.
And the cool thing about Mike Flanagan is that he uses a lot of the same cast in across his projects lah. So it's almost feels like a universe he's building, with different actors and different characters and all that. Although they're not linked lah, all these stories, but just seeing the same actors, and I only see them in like his shows, and they play very different roles across different series. Pretty awesome. Like, always feels like, hey, you're coming back together with a group of friends that you see once a year or once every other year, and just like, what are they performing today?
And it's horror, lah. It's horror.
Horror, yeah. And this one starts out very weird, but it gets pretty riveting, like a few episodes in, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That is not as immediately like, whoa, shit, scary as some of his other
Wait, is it like
series.
supernatural horror or like psychological horror?
Supernatural, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, supernatural.
But yeah,
the most supernatural thing I will do is like Lord of the Rings or something.
Which you are doing now, like you're on the track
almost
now.
Finished second one.
You're reaching Mordor.
Yeah.
In case y'all don't understand context, Harish he's actually experiencing Lord of the Rings, the whole series, for the first time in his life.
For the first time.
And alone, not with your wife or anything.
Like
you're just like, okay, I'm going to veg out and watch Lord of the Rings now.
Yeah. So I'm almost done with the second one already.
Yeah. I just remember back in the day, it was like, orgasmic to see it on screen and everything. Now Harish is experiencing it.
Wouldn't say it's orgasmic for me. I'm holding in because I feel like they're building up to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But along the way, sometimes some stuff happens. I'm like, how come this guy just comes back like that?
Spoiler alert, there's a proposal. There's a proposal in the plane. There's a proposal in the plane at the end, and she says yes lah.
Oh, okay.
Like in your favorite movie, Crazy Rich Asians.
The proposal was not in the plane, right?
Was it in the plane? I thought it was on the plane.
It was on the plane?
Yeah, it was on the plane.
Or maybe by then I zoned out already.
You couldn't take it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just, that was, Lord of the Rings versus Crazy Rich Asians. Let Harish know which
you're going to get another DM after this episode. Terrence, maybe you can send me some reviews where you have come across opinions like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Man.
All right.
Awesome,
everybody.
So if you enjoyed that, please remember to hit follow, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
Or email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com. Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Stay safe.